Now, keep in mind, I love all the Bond films in their own special way, and it's not like I hate any particular one of these. This is just a ranking. Coming in at 25, we have Octopussy. This is one of the goofier Bond films, and I found that it just had too many subplots and is kind of all over the place. Also, this scene, way too goofy for a Bond film. Yeah, other people will disagree with my ranking, but I truly feel this one goes in last place. Moonraker is a movie that is just too sci-fi to be Bond. The laser guns are just out of place, even though they are cool, and I definitely see where they were going with this. It's just not what I'm looking for in a Bond film. I couldn't imagine them putting laser guns in any of the Daniel Craig ones, which I hold to be some of the best in the series. There aren't any memorable scenes I can think of from this movie, so it's second to last. The villain dies in a cool way, though. This one will come as a shock. I know people aren't going to like this, but yes, Goldfinger is third to last. It's just too draggy of a film. It drags on for so long in some places, especially towards the end where they're unloading the gas on all the soldiers. I like some of the scenes with Bond and Goldfinger in them, especially the golf scene, but it's just too slow-paced to be anywhere higher on this list. At least it has Oddjob in it, which was memorable. The score is also the most memorable Bond score, arguably in history, for a lot of people. The song is really good. You Only Live Twice drags on so long. I can't remember any action scenes whatsoever. Bond goes to Japan, and that's about the only saving grace in this film. I love Japan, but it's just too boring for me. Can't really say I remember any scenes from this one. It didn't grab my attention. From Russia with Love will come as a surprise to some that it is so low on this list, but I just never quite got into the film. I really don't get the praise behind it, and I just found the thing too draggy and boring at times. The evil accents are cheesy at best, and the plot is very Hollywood and a bit out there. Not my favorite film. The Spy Who Loved Me is cheesy. The Russian accents aren't the greatest, although it had lots of memorable moments, so it's not the worst Bond film I've ever seen. It definitely drags on like most of the older films a bit, but it sits close to the bottom. There were some memorable moments in it though, like Bond deploying his Great Britain flag parachute, and there is a great plot point in this film that centers around Bond killing someone important to Anya Amasova. That really gives a lot of tension between the two, and it's well done. Number 20, The Man with the Golden Gun. I actually found myself somewhat enjoying this one because of the fight scene at the end. I thought Scaramanga was a great villain for Roger Moore, especially as he serves as kind of a foil to Bond. He's basically Bond, but with a golden gun and a private island. Also, Knick Knack.
Monsieur Scaramanga will welcome you next.
Live and Let Die is enjoyable for its creepier parts with Baron Sambi. The score is amazing as it's played by Paul McCartney's band Wings. The plot is interesting, and the scene with Roger Moore and his revolver is iconic. Overall, it's just an enjoyable film. I don't really have much bad to say about it. I really liked it. For Your Eyes Only was the first Moore film I watched, and so I have it at number 17 here. That's just my personal preference. I don't have much to say. I don't have much to say about it. Really, the only memorable part of this film is the ending where all the characters are scaling the cliff. And when I think of For Your Eyes Only, that scene is generally the one that comes to mind. I'm not doing a lot of these movies closer to the bottom of my list justice. I kind of like / dislike them all equally, so a list probably isn't the best way to rank them. But anyway, I had a tough time ranking these, but Diamonds Are Forever is a good middle ground movie. It's not great, it's not bad, it's just kind of meh. These two villains are among the weirdest and creepiest villains in a Bond movie. The plot is okay. A memorable scene for me is when Bond is fighting off all those girls and he kind of pushes them into the pool to mess with them. Kind of a bland middle ground Bond movie. The Living Daylights, a slightly better film than Diamonds Are Forever. Bond is dark in this one, and I really like that aspect. I like the sniper scene, however, I don't like the second half of the film as much as the first.
The soundtrack is spectacular, but the movie drags on, and I'm not much of a big fan of the ending. The world is not enough. This is a perfect spot for this movie, right above Living Daylights. Not really a great Bond film, just kind of meh, just like Diamonds Are Forever. However, slightly better and more enjoyable as it's a Brosnan one, and for the longest time, he was my favorite Bond. This one's low on my list because there just isn't that many memorable moments I can think of from this film. It's all kind of just vanilla. I do like the beginning sequence, though, where Bond uses, I think it's some kind of curtain to escape the building. Also, Brosnan using a 1911 handgun. Pretty cool. Dr. No. The YouTuber Calvin Dyson puts it perfectly. Dr. No has no great elements to it. It's not a bad film. If it were an ice cream, it would just be plain vanilla. It is a Bond film to its core. It kicked off the series and established all of the tropes, and for that, it sits right here at number 13. Number 12, Never Say Never Again. This was my first Connery movie, and I remember my dad buying it for me for when I was little and new to the Bond series. It has a really cool beginning sequence with Bond in the jungle, and it's a great fight scene. A lot of people dislike this one, but I find it to be a higher quality Connery one without all the Hollywood elements and cheesily choreographed fistfights of some of the older ones, as it was filmed in the 80s and not the 60s. GoldenEye. This one would be lower on my list, however, I can't deny the production quality, and Brosnan as Bond is just magnificent. This was one of my first Bond movies that I watched, and for that, it sits here at number 11. I thoroughly enjoy Thunderball. It has a cool underwater scene, and a lot of the underwater scenes are really great. And it's a movie that I can have a drink to and just not get tired of. The story is really good, and I find myself engaged with it, more so than some of the other Sean Connery movies. The main underwater fight is amazing and well shot. I know. Why is this one so high on my list? Well, in my opinion, this is the first movie that is actually enjoyable to watch for me, besides Thunderball. The soundtrack is amazing, and A View to Kill by Duran Duran is one of my favorite Bond themes. It's my second favorite. Christopher Walken plays an amazing villain and psychopathic character. Mayday is just creepy and a great sidekick to Max Zorin. The ending on the Golden Gate Bridge is awesome, and it's just the best Roger Moore flick. Really enjoyed this one, besides the fire truck scene. License to Kill is without a doubt one of my favorite ones. This list gets a little bit easier to compose as I go down it, thankfully. I'm able to really make my decisions easier. I've been to Key West, I've been to all the film locations, I've been to Ernest Hemingway's home. Sadly, I didn't get to jump off the balcony, though.
This private vendetta of yours could easily compromise
Sad.
Her Majesty's government.
The Q scene in this is one of my favorite Q scenes in all of the franchise. It shows Bond and Q's chemistry like no other movie in the series, and it's just funny. Benicio del Toro is in this. The story is great. Bond is dark as ever. This one just has a lot of elements that make it stand out in a good way. Number 8, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. This movie was awesome, and it really came as a surprise because it's so old. This is the only one in my top 10 that's old, and for good reason. The story is great, George Lazenby is just so likable as Bond, and the ending is great. Tomorrow Never Dies is funny, it's got a pretty good theme, and the story is watchable. What can I say? It's my second favorite Brosnan film.
An act of violence.
Quantum of Solace. This is where the movies start to get really good. Definitely my least favorite Craig era movie. It's a pretty lackluster movie compared to some of the other ones, but if I didn't have the other movies, this would be a movie of the century. Craig is brutal as Bond, as always. The fight scenes are amazing. It's kind of funny. Me and my girlfriend were watching this one, and we determined that there was every kind of chase scene in this movie. There's a car chase scene, a boat chase scene, a motorcycle chase scene, and a plane chase scene. It looks like they really tried to go all out with this one, but it just doesn't quite compare to the next ones. Spectre. It's just an enjoyable film, but not quite as good as some of the other ones. And the ending is just atrocious, as they try to tie in all of the other Craig-era movies into it, but it doesn't really end up working. It's clear they never wanted the story to work that way until they got to filming Spectre. It's cheesy at the end. But Spectre checks off all the boxes. Exotic locales, a girl, well-choreographed fight scenes. It's just a real crowd-pleaser of a Bond film. If there was one movie I would introduce someone to the franchise, it would be Spectre. I've watched Die Another Day dozens of times with my dad, alone. This was our favorite movie growing up, and it has a special place in my heart. The story works so well. Bond being captured is a great element of the film. It's funny, it's intense at times, and an overall well-crafted Bond film. Number 3, No Time to Die. Yes, this movie was breathtaking. The newest film in the series leaves you in awe. The cinematography, the acting, the set pieces, everything is just so well done. The locations are beautiful, the fight scenes are great, and not to mention Jamaica and the bar scenes are some of my favorite scenes in all of the franchise. This movie's a win in my book.
Number 2, Casino Royale. Yes, Casino is my second favorite. It was a tough choice between this and Skyfall. The story is great, the poker scenes are intense. This is a favorite among millions of fans, and it's clear why. Craig as Bond is witty, charming, and badass. It comes at number 2 as one of my all-time favorite Bond movies and movies in general. Really great. Number 1, Skyfall. If you've watched my review, you know I'm a big fan of this one for its cinematography, the vibe between every scene, the well-crafted story, the amazing villain and locales. Skyfall is my all-time favorite Bond movie. Alright, so that pretty much wraps up my review. Thank you guys for watching. Please leave a comment. Tell me what you liked, disliked about this video, and subscribe.